Hey, what up everybody? This is a video talking a little bit about Chyna. Chyna's been in the news a little bit. I can't remember exactly when the Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon podcast was. But, Stone Cold Steve Austin, took up that interview. Some people say he got a little bit of heat for it. But Stone Cold Steve Austin came in there, throwing those, big, thick fastballs right at Vince McMahon. Basically, there was no softball questions. He was hitting him with almost every question that people were tweeting him, trying to make sure that the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast was going to be a success on the WWE Network. And one of those put Chyna into probably one of the best lights that she's ever been in. And honestly, I can't remember, when she started to get this thing, rolling about trying to make this documentary about her life, where she can go back and try and get recollection and redemption on her life, with all of her friends and families, the people that she's burned and the people that have burned her, and basically all she's trying to do is just claim her spot in the WWE Wrestling Hall of Fame. Chyna, has had highs and lows in her career, and I remember when she left WWE, I believe it was shortly after WrestleMania 17. At that point, she had sort of done it all, and she was starting to get a little bit of a buzz about moving on. I remember that she really thought that she was going to play Wonder Woman in a Hollywood movie that was going to be like a big budget deal, and they were going to put money up behind her, and I remember sort of, from what my understanding is that she went to some sort of a movie premiere, and she was wearing like this big old Wonder Woman sort of garment that was made for her, and it just honestly got panned by those, shitty critics that like to judge what people are wearing. They do the red carpet things all the time, or they try to tell you that some chick walking the red carpet looks hideous, and you're sitting at home and you're like, I'd do her. And but Chyna, she left WWE. She thought she was gonna become some big movie star. This led to basically her being in Los Angeles and trying to get this movie career going, which then led to this substance abuse problem with her drinking and doing drugs and things like that. Horrible situation. I remember watching a wrestling documentary, which was probably, filmed. It seemed like it was filmed like somebody was outside of a Los Angeles independent wrestling show. I remember like DDP was on there. I believe I definitely know Chyna was in it, and there was Chuck Palumbo, a lot of people that had seen the highs of WWE, WCW, and now they were sort of living life on the indies. I think it might have been 101 pro reasons not to be a pro wrestler, but I could be wrong. It might have been another wrestling documentary. Around this time, 2003, 2004, there was a lot of people making a lot of wrestling projects because people thought there was a lot of money in pro wrestling, and they were selling those DVDs for probably $25 online. They probably made their money back, and they probably made a little bit more, but it was really low budget, really wasn't that good. You saw Chyna, you never saw inside of the wrestling show. They probably didn't have clearance to go in there, but they just were in the parking lot, and the wrestlers would come out, and you saw Chyna basically get paid for her spot on the wrestling show, and then Chyna, spent her money on booze. They were drinking cheap champagne out in the parking lot out of Dixie cups, and she just got really drunk, and it was almost like she was trying to show off for the camera. And I think she was trying to make herself look like she was a big star. And, big stars don't drink cheap champagne out of Dixie glasses in the street, sitting on the gutter, And then from there, the pornos started rolling out, and Chyna basically was doing anything she could to make money. Basically, that lasted for a good long time. I can honestly say that I've never seen the Chyna One Night in China with Chyna and Sean Waltman, whether if it's Volume 1 or Volume 2. I've never seen those. Chyna went on to the VH1 reality show with the reality stars. Sean Waltman showed up there. They were both out of their minds at the time. Sean Waltman has since for the most part, as far as I can tell, has got cleaned up. If he messes up every once in a while, at least he's not like Scott Hall, where it makes, main wrestling headline news, or anything like that. But, Triple H, has gone on the record, so it's Vince McMahon talking about getting him cleaned up and everything like that. And it just, from there just came more porn. The one Chyna porn that I have seen was the one where she like recreated, like a wrestling ring, and there was a fake Hulk Hogan and a fake Mean Gene. I think there was a fake John Cena in there. Somebody basically asked me to watch that maybe like in 2010, 2011 as a dare, and I was like, I ain't got nothing else to do. I remember seeing the Chyna Playboy that came out when she was in WWE, and I don't know. I mean, honestly, all those girls that did Playboy, it didn't matter if it was Maria, Candice Michelle, Tori Wilson, Sable, all of them. None of them looked like I thought they were going to look. I mean, they looked better when they were on Raw wearing clothes. So did Tracy Brooks. Tracy Brooks was one of the hottest chicks in wrestling until I saw her without her top, and I just lost it from there. But, Chyna, she did try to clean her life up. She did go to Japan, and, when I heard that she moved to Japan, she did clean her life up a lot, and she became normal. And now it seems like she's got this little bit of notoriety in wrestling again, from this buzz going about her maybe going into the Hall of Fame. And I think Stone Cold Steve Austin did more work for her than almost just about anybody else on that Triple H podcast by getting that ball rolling, asking, hey, when's Chyna going to go in? He thinks that Chyna's a big star. She deserves to go in. Triple H basically, gave the story of, he doesn't want people, not knowing who Chyna is because they're newer wrestling fans typing up, Chyna or Joni Lloyd, whatever her last name is, into Google or anything like that, and then all of a sudden, you get all these videos popped up, and now you've got people going in, and they're got an open door to porn. And I know there's a lot of other ways to get to it, and hell, let's just get down to it. I mean, you got to think that most people that watch wrestling have stumbled onto a porn site here or there in their life, but they don't want 8-year-old or 9-year-old kids to do it, and they don't want that 1 in a million chance that, somebody finds out, and when they're asked how they ended up on this site is because, they were trying to find out more about the WWE Hall of Famer that just went to the Hall of Fame they didn't know anything about. But it might happen. It could happen. And I think that, basically, when you look at the Hall of Fame, every year they put in one big star that is like their big main eventer. They put in one sort of mid-carder that helped a lot out in wrestling, that was probably a bigger star than they actually were when they were writing shows back in the day. They put in a tag team. They put in a woman, whether if it's a wrestler, whether if it's a manager or something like that. There's not that many girls that can be called Hall of Famers. I mean, Trish is in. Lita's in. There was that rumor last year that Mickie James was going to go in. Medusa went in. She was one of those people that you thought would never go in. Chyna more than likely probably would have got her name called if she just was quiet and just, kept showing that she was living a normal life. But instead, she's leaving Japan. She's moving back to the United States. She's trying to film this documentary where she shows up at the WWE offices unannounced to go inside and take a picture, which I'm sure is sending buzzes. Just that, she went in there on a Monday when she knew nobody was going to be there because they were all at Monday Night Raw, and she thought it would, make the buzz about, Chyna signing with WWE, Chyna getting a DVD, Chyna doing something for the WWE network, maybe Chyna working on her deal to get into the Hall of Fame. She just wanted her name to pop up on those websites, like NoDQ.com, Wrestling Observer, sort of things like that, just to get her name out there. And now she's making these YouTube vlogs where she's talking about things that even the biggest Chyna fan would just have to admit there's no way in the world that would happen. I mean, now she's claiming things like domestic violence on Triple H and just all sorts of just weird, crazy stories. And if you would have asked me 6 months ago. That's when the Triple H podcast was. I think it happened in, and off the top of my head, I think that the Triple H podcast happened in January. So 6 months ago, if you would have asked me if I thought that Chyna was going to be going into the Hall of Fame this year at WrestleMania, I honestly would have said that there's a great chance that she was going in. But as of right now, with just the actions of her in the last, 2 to 3 weeks, there's no way in hell Chyna's going into the Hall of Fame today, tomorrow, or, anytime soon. She's just not reacting well to this constant thing. And I know people will say that, a great person to, sort of, put her next to would be Sunny. I know that, Sunny is now doing porn now that she is a WWE Hall of Famer. Well, rumored to be. She does, online Skyping videos, which she doesn't realize that people are, taking screenshots or maybe even, filming her doing what she's doing, and it's leaking out onto the internet where people can watch it. But, at least she wasn't doing that while she was waiting to get the call to go into the Wrestling Hall of Fame. She did have a large, amount of years of her life, with substance abuse problems, before, during, and after, her Chris Candido's death. But for the most part, when she went into the Hall of Fame at WrestleMania 27, she had really cleaned her life up. And, she looked like she was ready to fight the good fight. And something in her life has taken a wrong turn, and now there's the rumors of her doing things with Vivid. I think she's made all the money that she's going to make from Vince McMahon. Maybe there's royalty checks that still roll in, but I don't think Sunny's getting that call anymore now that all these stories have rolled out. She's not going to get those, Monday Night Raw, old school or Raw reunions. She's not going to be on that list, to get flown in and get a payday for being at Monday Night Raw, basically. Chyna, she might not have ever been a part of, live television, being on Raw, being on SmackDown, things like that, but definitely she could have upped her game by getting that Hall of Fame thing that you can put next to your name. And, when you go out and you're calling around trying to get bookings, whether if it's for conventions or wrestling shows or things like that, I'm sure it helps your price tag that's next to your name by being able to say that a Hall of Famer is coming to your show. Chyna probably would have got in. But now there's no way in the world I can see her going in.